everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bold Moves. So we sadly don't have my co-host Ryan today, but we have the lovely Megan. How are you?
Hi, yeah, I'm good, thank you. It feels really weird being in front of camera because for those of you that don't know, if you've watched Juice with All the Bits, which was the Juice Academy's podcast, which has now kind of developed into this, I used to be the co-host for that podcast. And I now sort of produce and edit this podcast, so I'm used to being behind the camera now, but I'm now in front, so
yep. No pressure.
I know, I feel nervous. No, it's fine. But we've got a really exciting episode.
We do.
So it is Mental Health Awareness Week this week, so we wanted to have an episode that focused on mental health in the workplace. That would be useful for, apprentices and learners to kind of watch, and even like employers to find out, some tips with mental health. And we've got the lovely Chevonne James here with us today. Hi. How are you doing?
Lovely nervous, but
It's fine. Nice space here. So first of all, could you share a little bit about, who you are, your role as the designated safeguarding lead at Apprentify, and how that ties into mental health support?
So, as Megan said, my name's Chevonne, and I am the designated safeguarding lead at Apprentify and Juice Academy as well. I've worked in sort of like mental health for several years. So I started off as a mental health support worker, and then just continued from there. And then a couple of years ago, I qualified as designated safeguarding lead, and obviously with my experience of working in mental health, I felt like that just, sat really well, especially for apprentices where, mental health is very prevalent. Mm-hmm. For me, I sort of ensure that I've fulfilled the responsibility of making sure that I safeguard and promote the well-being of all apprentices, and if needed, staff members as well within Apprentify and Juice Academy.
Brilliant. Amazing. And why do you think mental health is important for apprenticeships and the boot camp?
I feel like it's very, very important for apprenticeships and boot camps, just because apprentices face a huge learning curve. Mm-hmm. So whether, you've had 10 years of experience of work or, you're just starting out fresh from school, not only do you have sort of the adjustment to the work environment, but you're also learning about your trades as well through your theory sessions. And then also trying to maintain a personal life as well as an apprentice, which can be very, very hard. Yeah. So I do feel like sort of mental health awareness is very, very important when it comes to that, just because as well with Apprentify, because all of our sort of like sessions are online, mm-hmm. you don't really have that face-to-face contact that, apprentices probably used to have. Yeah. So it's really important for coaches and trainers and tutors to notice, any signs of mental health within any sort of apprentices or bootcamp learners.
Yeah, definitely. So for any apprentices and learners that may be sort of struggling and facing challenges with their mental health, how would you say Apprentify ensures that mental health support is easily accessible?
So all of our staff complete, mandatory safeguarding training. So that is, the most important thing, that, every single new starter that starts with us has that training, and they are very aware of, how to safeguard an individual. And then we also have all of our apprentice-facing staff. So any sort of like tutors, anyone within the safeguarding team also complete mental health first aid training too.
That's really good.
Yeah, so that then gives everyone sort of like the tips and tools to be able to sort of notice signs, and then if there is any sort of like any concerns are brought straight to me anyway, and I take over the role of supporting that apprentice.
No, that's amazing. It's nice to know that there's a lot of support around.
Yeah, definitely.
I think especially because you're a current apprentice. Yeah. I was an apprentice, mm-hmm. A graduate, so it's just nice even for us to hear, and see that sort of happening.
Yeah, because it's such a big change from your whole lifestyle switched from school
100%,
to the workplace.
And some people sort of relocate as well to do the apprenticeships as well. Mm-hmm. So not only do they have everything else to tackle, they've also got a new city or a new town.
Yeah. I relate to that. New friends. I know. I'm originally from York, and I moved to Manchester to do the apprenticeship, so I 100% get that. It's difficult. It's really difficult, but it's nice to know that there's the support there.
Yeah, amazing. So how can organisations foster inclusivity and ensure that mental health support is accessible and relevant to all employees and consider diverse backgrounds as well?
I think sort of like the first thing is sort of like education and training. So not particularly training the whole, company on safeguarding and mental health, but potentially having, one or two designated individuals within the organisation that do have sort of like the knowledge of mental health, so that apprentice can be supported from that side as well. Because I do feel like it is very, very important to sort of have the support from all different sides throughout the apprenticeship. So, the support from me, then there's the support from the trainer or the coach, and then also someone within the organisation too. I think that's very, very useful. Another one could be things like accessible resources. So if the the organisation has the employee assistance programme, that's absolutely amazing as well for staff, because they can just go and contact whoever they need to themselves, and get that support directly from them. Open conversation and leadership support as well. So, having, one or two individuals within the organisation that staff can feel like they can go and speak to if they do need that support, rather than sort of like bottling it up because they don't really feel confident. So having that person there is very helpful to them. And then things like inclusive policies, so implementing policies that support mental health inclusion. So, having a section in a policy somewhere just to, promote mental health and, speaking out.
So what advice do you have for employees and employers alike in creating and maintaining a positive and supportive work environment for mental health?
It goes back to sort of open conversation and leadership support. So one-to-one meetings with apprentices. So apprentices can sort of have a discussion about how they're doing, what they're doing, where they're going next, if there's any concerns, because if there are any sort of certain concerns, then it's important for the employer to actually know what's going on, because if not, that then affects the work environment, and things just can escalate from there. Employers to sort of be positive as well, and focus on what employees can do rather than what they can't do too. So if there's a skill set that the apprentice isn't really reaching, sort of focusing on their strengths to be able to get them over that barrier of where they're struggling, could also sort of support their mental health. And then just being aware of things like workloads, encouraging apprentices to work sensible hours, not trying to do too much overtime, because it doesn't always work, it doesn't work. And then, things just get left, and then, it's just that snowball method of, getting behind. So, I feel like, them few things are a good starting point to supporting apprentices' mental health.
Definitely. I know you offer so much support, but if someone feels a bit hesitant or a bit worried about approaching someone about their worries, what advice would you give someone for seeking out some help if they need someone to talk to?
It's always good to remember that one service doesn't fit all. So, there's apprentices that potentially have had, mental, declines in mental health through a long period of time, and they've gone to GPs and that's not worked. They don't really have supported family, so that doesn't work. So it's just about remembering it's, you're never going to have the same experience as somebody else in terms of, looking for support. So, if you have a family member, work colleague, neighbour, anyone that you feel like you're pretty close to that you can speak to, so it doesn't need to be your mum or your dad or, people like that. It could be, so Wendy indoors now, I get on well with her and I speak to her quite a lot, and and a lot of people are open to actually listening, which is also a very important thing to remember as well. Reaching out to GPs, and I know that GPs don't work for everybody, but there are a lot of different services and support that they can offer, probably a lot more than what you could find online. But then looking online, there are national and local charities and third-party organisations that offer different ranges of support. This could be helpline, online chats, talking therapies, advocacy. There are so many different resources that can be tapped into. And you don't have to tap into a resource that is, 5 miles from home. It could be on the other side of the country, because, obviously with technology and stuff, it's easy to access. So there's always that support there. And then again, tapping into the organisation as well. So if there is someone that you do feel comfortable talking to at work, speaking to them. And then again, if they do offer the employee assistance programme, that's another good resource to have a look at.
Yeah, definitely. And if there's like any specific resources as well, we can sort of have a chat after this and get them in the description below, so anyone watching can access those as well. You touched on it before about, it can be really overwhelming being an apprentice, that you're learning but also having to balance work commitments. What would you suggest are some good strategies to help with that balance of you're learning in the classroom, or whether that's virtually doing those sort of assignments and classroom learning, but also with your regular work commitments?
So it's important to take notice of your mental health. So it could just be 5 minutes of your day. So it could be doing something you enjoy. So if you enjoy baking, I know it takes longer than 5 minutes, but it's always nice to smell fresh cakes in the house, isn't it?
I love it.
So baking, if you like listening to music, listen to music, doing a hobby. So do you do karate? Do you do dance? Do you do athletics? Like, just something that you have enjoyed in the past, or you do currently enjoy, just having a look at that, getting back into it, taking that time to do that as well. Connecting with others. So it could be, you could just be asking a colleague about how the weekend was. Getting to know somebody. Do you have kids? Do you have just simple conversation, but that simple conversation helps with your mental health.
It's easy to forget to do that sometimes, isn't it? Like, it's just such a simple thing of just like sparking up a conversation that's not necessarily to do with work, it's just, personable things.
I think because you do go into work, don't you, and you just sit down and you get on with your work, and you see certain people at lunchtime, and then you go back to work, and it's just such a busy environment that I think you do actually forget to have a conversation.
Especially because you work the majority of your life, Monday to Fridays, but you're around these people all the time, and so it feels weird to think that you'd forget to ask those kind of things, but it is so important.
It is. And you always think like it's a lot of effort to go out. I know if I want to go for a walk, but I can't be bothered. But once you go, you actually do feel so much better for your mental health as well, and your physical health. So it's definitely very important.
Would you say that's your go-to, going for walks?
I'm a dancer.
Dancer? Yeah. I love that, because I'm a musician.
You're the musician.
The artsy things.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, dance, you can just let it. You can exercise, but it just lets out all
Lets it all go.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good for your mental health.
Definitely. And that does take me to my next point as well. So being active, exercising, walking around the block, doing an active hobby, taking the dog out, whatever it is, giving it a go. Yoga. I love yoga.
It's nice, isn't it?
So exercise is very, very important as well. And then one thing that I have tried with a couple of apprentices that I have supported and do currently support is a gratitude journal.
Oh yeah, I love that.
So that is just sort of making a note of everything that you've achieved, everything that you're grateful for. So it could just be a simple thing like, I got out of bed this morning.
Yeah, that is an achievement.
It is an achievement.
It is,
Or, it could be, I made the journey to work. Again, another achievement. So it could literally be anything that you're grateful for. I'm grateful for the sunshine today. I'm
always grateful for that.
And for those who don't like sunshine, I'm grateful for the rain. And, so it could be, it could literally
so
be
different
anything.
for everyone.
Yeah. But then what I've seen sort of like happen when apprentices have done gratitude journals before is, on their sort of like not so good days, they've gone back and had a look at things that they've written in there, and then that's helped them to remember that I may be going through this bad time at the moment, but all of these things that I've achieved, all of these things that I'm grateful for, so I've actually done something, like I've actually, been able to achieve something. So it's really nice to see sort of when I have my meetings, to see what, apprentices have written in there.
That's such a lovely idea.
That is such a lovely, I know, I love that idea. It's so nice. So how can acknowledging your progress contribute to a positive mindset?
So the first thing is just celebrating your progress. So that's by taking time to acknowledge how far you've come. Because you're an apprentice for a reason. So you're an apprentice because you don't have that industry knowledge. So you're there to learn, you know, what you need to learn to qualify for the job that you're going to be doing. So acknowledging, you know, I've been on the apprenticeship for 2 months and I've learned A, B, C, and, you know, and everything else. And it's good to sort of have that, you know, in the back of your mind. Another one is sort of like visualising your success. So sort of thinking about, you know, where do you want to take this? Like, what do you want to do? And, you know, not everybody knows. But for those who do know, it's always good to sort of visualise that, because that can boost your confidence, and that can help you to stay focused as well. And for you know, potentially if you work in sort of like a bigger organisation that does have a lot of different departments that you can, you know, sort of merge into at some point, you know, it's good having a look at that, you know, speaking to other colleagues that work in them departments, getting a little bit of an idea of, you know, what you would be doing on a day-to-day basis. And then also sort of supporting others, so sharing your experiences can create a collaborative environment as well. If there are other apprentices within that organisation as well, you know, speaking to them and just sharing, you know, what you've learned, what you're doing, because it's always, you know, as you know, I've said previously, you know, it's a very, very big learning curve for apprentices. Yeah. So having that other support there, or even people that have been on an apprenticeship before, having that support there is very, very important.
Definitely. I think as an apprentice myself, and you probably experience this, you forget you are still learning. I always forget I'm still learning, and I've only been in it for such a short period of time, but it's so easy to forget, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Well, we're at the last question, and I feel like I could just go on and on talking about this, but to sort of wrap it up, and we've kind of touched on some certain points, but to have like a concluded kind of top tips for any apprentices or learners that may be feeling isolated and uncertain about where to turn for support, what advice do you have for building a strong support network, both within the workplace and outside?
So some of these relate back to, you know, if you're not very confident in coming forward. So again, if you have sort of like supportive family and friends, sort of speak to them about your goals and your challenges. You know, so if you are facing sort of like a challenge at work, you don't know who to speak to, you know, tapping into sort of like your family and speaking to them, you know, could be a positive thing. And again, with neighbours, you know, if you do have a close relationship with any of your neighbours, you know, speaking to them and just saying like, oh, I'm struggling with this at the moment, and, you know, seeing what support or help that they can offer you as well. You know, getting to know your colleagues, as you may find one or a few that have the same interests as you. You know, manager or HR, if you feel like they're supportive as well. Social media and online groups, so you can find a valuable resource for finding support and connecting with others. You can find communities that align with your interests as well. So, you know, for you, if you like dance, you know, on social media, there might be like a dance network or, you know, something relating to that interest that you've got. And then getting involved with your local community. So, you know, going out volunteering, you know, or having a look at community projects. You know, they can be good for building strong networks. You know, there's sort of, where I live, there's quite a few different, you know, sort of community groups. So they do, they meet up for coffee. They have a mum and toddlers community as well. So there's loads of different things in terms of the communities. So I think getting out there and, you know, speaking to people and meeting people is you know, is very, very important as well.
Yeah, I joined a theatre group actually, so that was my thing. Yeah, I love sort of theatre, music, acting, that kind of thing. And I even had my colleagues at the Juice Academy come watch me in a show last year, so that was nice. But yeah, I know what you mean with just, you know, joining communities and being a part of that. It's nice to meet new people, especially those with like the same interests as you. It really definitely helps. And I have joined a community group before. So I had my youngest child in lockdown. Oh wow. So that was
a testing,
Yes.
a testing time of my life. So yeah, because we couldn't go out and do baby activities together and toddler activities, sort of when restrictions started to lift, I found a mum and toddlers sort of community group. And I've been there quite a few times, met up with different mums with children that live in my area, mums with children the same age as mine, mums that have been through the same thing in terms of COVID and stuff. So it's nice to see that you're not alone. So when you do feel like you're alone, you're not alone, because there are so many people that have the same feelings and are going through the same things as you. So yeah, I would say probably the community is one of the biggest resources out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think social media has helped with you to understand you're not alone as well.
Yes.
And people need people, and if you can relate to each other, it does make you feel a bit better, like, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of community groups on social media as well. Obviously saying in the goods,
the goods
the
of
positive,
social.
Community groups. But yeah, there's loads online as well, and it's there's apps as well. So there's one called Pino, which I've been on before as well, and that's mums in your local area too that you can meet up with and go out for drinks or the park or whatever with. So yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. It's just finding what suits you best.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the perfect way to end the episode.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's been lovely to have you.
Yes, it's been amazing. So Megan will be joining us for our next episode, so stay tuned for the next one. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you would like any support, there is some links in the description box below. Thank you for watching. Bye.
See you later.